All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Delphi. Why can't we see? You know, why are we blinded? I have questions, right, that I would like to ask, right? Now, a lot of people are asking, how were they, could they have gotten this bullet? How did it end up there? Numerous ways. Uh, there could have been a call to the house. I know there was reports of the neighbor making a call to the police saying that there was something stolen from his house and possibly Richard had it and the police went there. That was one way they could have got on his property uh, and got maybe a bullet if it was, in the backyard or whatever. And, uh, you know, someone said earlier on a video I was watching that the police were also called there because he had a outburst or something or a self-harming thing or whatever, or mental illness or whatever, right? The police were called there then. Could they have gotten a bullet then? And the interesting thing is the police were called there, but that was after the murders, where we can probably show a pattern maybe where he was starting to break down. The pressure of the murder, the pressure of making sure nobody found out, the pressure of police one day coming and knocking on the door, right? And that pressure is always there, that knock on that door. So numerous ways they could have got a bullet if they were going to set him up. But these things were after the murder. When did the bullet come into play? They're saying right away they found it that day, not weeks after they went back to the site and found it 2 inches into the ground. So I got a lot of questions to ask these people. And the vehicle, right? People are like, well, how do you know that's his vehicle? Well, because there were only so many hatchbacks in that area, Focus hatchback, which is, I think I heard, rare, right? There was other ones in town, but not that color. And, why can't people see it? That there might be a connection there. They might have the right guy, right? And as far as any of these people uh, go, when it comes to something like this, like a double murder of two, and probably an SA, um, they're not going to admit it. So people are, well, he's saying he's not, he didn't do it. Look at him. That's true. But you want to spend the rest of your life in prison or possibly uh, given the chair? Because in Indiana, death penalty, I think, still goes on. That's what he was worried about, that they were going to electrocute him. So that's very interesting too. So why can't people figure out the case? What is it with the case? Why are there so many people in that area that fit that description of BG, which fits the fits Richard Allen, right? Why are there so many other people in that area that look like him? And there are other people that were suspects that their voice also sounded like Bridge Guy. So you got to explain this to me. It's very freaky. Something ain't right with the Delphi thing, man. It just ain't right. Now, a lot of it can be explained away. This is true, right? He's not going to admit what they want him to admit in the beginning. And he did the right thing. He stood his ground. Arrest him, arrest him, you know. Maybe he was saying he's not going to talk. He's not saying anything. Arrest him. Uh, but then in the same breath, you can see when they leave him alone, uh, his conscience comes upon him. And that gives you reason of doubt of maybe, yeah, the pressure is getting to him. And you're seeing it when the police leave the room. He's holding his hands up. He's almost like he's talking to someone else. That's possible. I don't know. I mean, if he's into the black arts, which the way some of us been getting spiritually attacked or cursed or spelled or whatever that have been investigating or making videos on the Delphi Cape, yeah, something ain't right. I don't know, but it is freaky. And you got a lot of people. Well, I can't say in that area because there's a lot of people everywhere. In each town, there's a lot of people that are arrested for certain similar SA or dating young women. So maybe the truth is right there, always been in front of their faces. Why can't they see it? Why can't they acknowledge it? Why couldn't they see that there was many players in the game and many people? And being with the RICO Act and drugs involved with some of these people that were picked up, also pedos with photos and stuff, and so-called belonging to crews or gangs. Well, uh, that was really, if you look at it, grounds for a RICO Act, where people that might not have been there, uh, but were involved with these guys separately and doing drugs and maybe passing photos around and doing illegal activities, stealing, whatever, then yeah, I would say there's a RICO Act there, especially if they're trafficking and doing this pedo sicko stuff. And what does a RICO Act mean? A RICO Act means where the whole club goes down. Everybody goes down, whether you did the murders or not. So a lot of people don't understand why didn't they see the whole big picture? They had blinders on, or there are certain reasons we can't say because they'd probably kill us. But there's a reason why these people didn't want you to look any further than one man and one man only, and it couldn't be anything other than that. Uh, I don't know. It could have been one man. Well, yeah, with enough time, the right people in the place. You got the right people in place and enough time. Yeah. And here's the thing what gets me. These people are saying, well, they weren't SA'd. Well, we know by his words that he's been saying that he was going to rape the two girls. Now, he got spooked, he said. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. He had enough time to essay him. He had plenty of time. And for all we know, if they didn't find them girls, then yeah. that day if they were out there that night. And them girls weren't there, and these people swore they searched that place up and down. And they even pointed out this is where the girls were found. And some of these people that were searching that night said impossible. We searched that area that night. Them girls were not there. Well then yeah, he had plenty of time to essay them. Now if they've lied about so much in this case, even the authorities, then what makes you think they're not lying about they were essayed when they're saying they weren't? If they lied so much to you people and everyone's claiming they lied, they lied, they lied, if they lied so much, then it just might be true that maybe one of the girls were pregnant and they were being essayed. Very possible. I'm not going to say it's not true because it might be true. I mean, we came 360 back around in this case. In the beginning, there was many vehicles, many people there. The information came out about Bridge Guy. What did the police say? There was other people on the recording other than Abby and Libby. As the years went by, everyone said there was no vehicles there. What are you talking about? A white vehicle, a white van? What are you talking about? A black vehicle with an SUV with stickers all over the back window? What are you talking about? The PT Cruiser? That never was. Well, it was because it came 360 back, and there was a bunch of vehicles there. There was actually a lot of people there that day, same time as the murders. So I don't know. You had Richard Allen placing himself there. He says he didn't even go out onto the bridge. He told his wife, right? He wasn't there. Then he said, "Oh, don't you remember? I told you I was there, but I never went on the bridge." And then he said, "Oh, well, I went to that. I remember I told you I went to the bridge and I went to that first thing there when he was being interviewed, interrogated by the police with his wife in the room." So he admitted that he did go on the first tear, the first platform of the bridge. Heck, he told his wife he wasn't there. And then he told his wife, "Oh, yeah, I told you I was there." So his story's changed. Did he know any of these guys that were already picked up? Was he panicking? Maybe. Maybe he did. You know, a lot of people are saying, well, he didn't want people to see his information. What, porn? If him and his wife were watching porn and it was adult porn, he had no problem. What? It's not against the law to watch porn. It is if it's kiddie porn, kids. That's illegal, right? If he was looking up information, certain information in the Delphi case or other cases, and looking up ways to do things and get away with stuff, then yeah, that was probably stuff he didn't want people to see or the police. You know, mysteriously, his 2017 phone disappeared. They can't find it. They they know what the other phones were, but not that one. I can't see why people now. Do I know 100% if he's the sole person and the guy? There's similarities there to yes, he might be the guy or one of them. 100% can I say from the footage of BG, the video we have, 100% it's definitely him. No, I can't say that with the video, but that's why there's other evidence that points to him. Maybe that might add up, especially the voice. As this stuff was released, Now we have enough to compare, and some of us are like, well, it does sound like him. It does. I'm not gonna lie, it does. But so does a couple other guys. So, right, what do you do? Hello, Miss Debbie Fox. How are you doing tonight? As always, looking lovely, scrumptious, but never mind to bite into. So it's just a chat dream. Joke, just teasing. So why are people so bent on they can't believe it's him? No, he's being set up and everything. Well, it's possible. Not gonna lie to these people, it's possible. Unless the evidence is there that says he was there. Then there's no way around it. You have to take the facts. If you're wrong, you're wrong, just like me. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But the evidence is what we care about, right? The voice is what we need for the people to say, that's his voice, right? We're not worried about the confession. Let's match the voice. If that's his voice, and then we have a confession, then I'm good with it, right? And like I said earlier, he can confess to anything. But if the evidence don't match, if that's not his voice, if that's not his shoe print in the side of the bank in the mud and dirt, his size, if it's not the evidence, right, then it's not him. If the glove don't fit, you must acquit. No, you're right. This case is crazy because you have other YouTubers, you got espionage going on, you got people trying to blackmail you, trying to set you up, trying to do all kinds of stuff. Them themselves, some of these people are very bad people. Oh. So it's hard to believe anything. I don't know what to believe anymore. What do you think, Debbie? What are you thinking now? I don't know. Just for your opinion, people will hate you. Just for going against somebody, they hate you. Just for, I don't know, they can love another YouTuber better than you and they wreck your whole life and everything. That's true. That's true. Right? The Delphi case is probably one of the most craziest cases I've ever seen myself. Just when I think one way, I think another. I don't know anymore. Who cares, right? I can tell you one thing. I'd like to be doing a lot better things right now than watching YouTube, but that probably would cost me money. But each day it's sounding better. It really is crazy, Debbie. I agree with you. I unblocked your friend Kel Mr. Kell. I don't know how if I got him out of timeout. I don't know if they would have to come into chat, and I would have to go to their channel and then unblock them if they come into my chat. The court has caused all this. Well, the court, the whole thing, police, everybody. It was just crazy, and it's still an ongoing case. I mean, I'm under attack every day from YouTubers and Delphiers and other cases, and madmen, music, everything, right? Used, abused. Yeah, I know what it means not to get your way. I've been there. I can see how some of these people got drove nuts or stepped off the deep end or whatever. Yeah, it's a crazy case. But still, even if they come out with the proof, here's the bottom line. I know what they're going to do. They're going to say, here it all is. And it's just a massive yuck of goo and all these people. And they're going to say, there's the proof. And still, even with the proof, these people will still go on saying it's a bunch of crap and it's all fake. You can't you can't, people are going to think what they want. So even when they say Delphi is over, Delphi will never be over. It'll be like a John Bonet case. It'll be like, till this day, they're talking on that. The O.J. Simpson case, they're still talking. So many cases, they're still talking about that there was other suspects and there was other. These cases will never go away. It'll probably be a money making thing, and each day it just gets deeper and deeper in scenarios and madness and all kinds of stuff. Next week, Godzilla make an appearance in the Delphi case. It was Godzilla come out of the creek there, out of the river, and yeah, I, I don't know what to tell these people. Like I said, even if we show them all the proof, 20 years from now they'll be saying it's not real. Danged if we do, danged if we don't. What am I going with? It was many. It was a ring. Some of them might not have been involved in the murders, but they were associated with people. There was many involved. There was wars going on down there, clubs, gang, all kinds of stuff. It all played a part. Trafficking, pedo stuff. It all played a part of it. There was more than one. That's all I'm going to say. And it's very possible Richard Allen didn't have anything to do with it, but seen the opportunity and took it because there was already crazy stuff going on there before Abby and Libby. That's very possible too. Maybe he thought someone else would get the blame for it. That was already being watched and already might have had a beef with Richard Allen. We're not sure. What is interesting is the way they found the crime scene. If it was Richard Allen, then did he have a beef with, was he an Odin? Did he have a beef with these Odins or whatever? Right? Did he try and make it look like something it wasn't? Or did he just panic and try covering the bodies? If the bodies were even there when the search was going on, because they didn't find nothing out there, folks. It was, I live out here. It was on the 11 o'clock. I'm up north, way up north in God's country on the border. It was on the 11 o'clock news. There was people all over that area and in the cemetery. That's no shit. That was the truth. It was on the news that night, searching for the two girls. The search was called off. And that's another thing. The search was called off. Well, if the bodies were there and somebody did want to do something or whatever, or return back to the, well, yeah, they could have dropped a bullet. They could have set it up there. Yeah, very possible. Someone might have had a beef with Richard Allen. Maybe, these people are saying Richard Allen uh, wasn't a violent person. Well, there's evidence out there of him saying very mean things to his wife in front of people, right? In front of people. That was witnesses saying that at the bar one night. Said he was going to whoop the shit out of her in the parking lot, beat her ass. Told her to get her shit and get out of here. Maybe he was joking, maybe he wasn't. Maybe Richard Allen was having problems and he tried doing something to himself. Why were the police called to the house? Let's see what Debbie's saying. He won't ever really know. Or we won't ever really know. He couldn't have done this alone. No way. Oh, no. He had enough time to do it alone. For the simple reason, all he had to do was escort the girls to the area. After he was done doing whatever, then unalived them right there. Well, he had enough time. One guy could do this. Now, if the girls were deceased, could one guy do this in that time? I don't know. Right? He'd have to have endurance and he'd have to be strong. Because now you got to carry bodies. And that takes time, strength, uh, and that's risky. Someone seeing you carrying what looks like a body, right? But if he kidnapped the girls and they were spooked or whatever, or forced to an area, lured, whatever, and he didn't have to spend any energy in carrying them, and they went there on their own free will and walked, then yeah, he had enough time. Well, you have to think about it, Debbie. If he had a weapon and brandished it in front of the girls and they were scared and they were going to do what he said, all he had to tell them was to do what he wanted, to go where he wanted. Therefore, he's not using any of his energy and he's just walking behind them, making sure they get to where he wants. He had enough time to do it, one person. Yeah, if they say one dude did this, yeah, he had enough time. There was enough time to do what he needed to do and get out of there. Especially, especially if he had any kind of military training. Then yes, one guy definitely could have done all this mess. My question is was it for someone else? Was he using fake accounts and doing exactly what Keegan Klein was doing? Was there other people? There could have been. Was he the one that was had a Keegan or a Anthony Shots account and watching the whole thing and knew that the girls would be there and was going to meet another Anthony Shots? And Richard Allen seen that, took the opportunity and did this to the girls, and they thinking that other people with the Anthony Shots account or whatever, another account, would get the blame. Maybe, we don't know. Let me see what Debbie's saying. I'm not talking about if you have enough time. I mean, he was a pretty bad shape. In 2017, he wasn't in too bad a shape in 2017. He said his heart attack, high blood pressure, and diabetes. Yeah, yeah. Before his heart attack, he was in pretty good shape. But like I said, his heart attack, he had a couple stents put in or whatever. They're saying, would he still be able to do this? Yeah, if he didn't have to carry them long distance or carry the bodies at all, yeah, could he have taken the girls from there to the kill site? Yeah. But if the girls weren't there, where were the bodies? Maybe he did kidnap them, take them from there, tie them up, gag them, do whatever. He went home, watched the news. He seen that the search was called off, went back, took the girls there, uh, killed them, and left. Accidentally racked the gun. Couldn't find the bullet. That's possible. I don't know the case back then. Yeah, I know. So now we know that somebody took off to Canada in the Delphi case. Richard Allen said he knew a guy that used to live out here, but he took off and went to Canada. Now, Richard Allen, we know, has been lying. I also forgot how much time has gone between when this happened. Yeah, 8 years. We also know that it's a giant pedo ring, and it spans all the way to the East Coast to around here. A lot of people involved in the Delphi case. A lot of people that now we know they were questioned uh, and did have connections with criminals in the Delphi case. And for these people that are saying there's a organization on YouTube and these people are all connected through the web or whatever, yeah, I believe it. I believe it. Right? What are they using to control people? Probably sex, money, drugs. Uh, you know, buying people. That's where the corruption comes from. Yeah, the Bigelow beach killer, Debbie. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty crazy if you ask me. I'm tired of like getting attacked spiritually. I'm tired of getting my soul taken. It feels like vampires, right? We could pretty much track that also to the summer case and some of these other channels that some of these women came from. So, yeah, and some of these guys came from channels, right? So, yeah, I can understand how people are like, I feel like a vampires sucking the life out of them. Yeah, well, that's what they are. That's what they do. It's called on the streets getting their claws into you. That's what they used to call it on the streets. You don't want these guys to get their claws into you, right? That used to be the old saying. You don't want this broad to get her claws into you, and next thing you know, she's dragging you all over town, right? I can see how some people think that way. I mean, yeah, I can see it, and I can see that in the Delphi case, and the Summerwell's case, and the other case. I need to get my back scratched. I'm so I've been bored with everything. It's almost like quitting a drug, trying to stay away from YouTube. Yeah. Right? Most of the time, we catch these people, they're police on the internet doing bad things or stalking people, right? And then you catch them, and then they're like, oh, well, we're the police, You can't arrest. You can't make a citizen's arrest. So yeah, yeah. And then throw into the Delphi case the corrupt cop that they caught and said he was corrupt, setting up cases and manipulating people. Yeah, I mean it's just horrible. Let's see what Debbie's saying. He did say that he didn't do it. He was not going to admit to something he didn't do, but yet he does his jail phone call and he's telling people he did. Yeah, yeah. Well, what was funny was is him asking his wife and family if he did do the murders, would his family still love him? If he was guilty, would she still love him? Well, he admitted it 60 times, Debbie. So I don't know. I'm not feeling good myself. Feels like I'm under attack by something, or someone stole my soul or something. I don't know. But there's numerous channels that we're looking at for that. I'm starting to believe Elon might be onto something. They're vampires or succubuses or we're not sure what Ernie Shell is yet. But we know this: he's very sick. He might be the one trespassing. Maybe it was the Pope that was trespassing too. Many, maybe. Forgive them, Lord. But there we go again, because now I found out in watching the Bible that we're not supposed to pray for some people. I didn't know that. Maybe Richard Allen is in hell. Maybe he did it. Are we supposed to pray for him? I don't know. Maybe not. The Lord did say something about that in the Bible, not to pray for these people because uh, we shouldn't pray for them. What does the Bible say? Can you hear me? No, I was sitting kind of far away from the microphone eating the ice cream. I'm disgruntled and frustrated. This is stuff you guys wouldn't know about, or you ladies. Help me, Jesus, take the wheel. Oh, you can't hear me, woman. You think you can hear me, but you can't hear me. You can't hear me. I just wish this thing would stop trespassing on me. Or whatever curse or voodoo or whatever it is. Sucking the life out of me. Awesome. I'm starting to believe some of these people. I'm sorry, folks. I know a lot of people are saying don't believe. I'm starting to believe that this ain't by our own hands, that this is something very evil. And I'm really contemplating whether we're going to hit the button or not. Not in some other country, right here in America. It's just way too evil. Yeah, it's definitely sucking the life out of you. It's definitely binding or trying to hold us hostage. Choking, suffocating, whatever it is, trespassing. We might not have no choice. I'm really sorry, but everyone else, we might not have no choice. I don't know what this thing is. It's it's got to be demonic. No, it's not Bigfoot. Debbie said, "Don't make me flip you off." Too late. Be right back. Making tea. Don't lie. You're probably going to watch some other stud. It's all right. I know this. You're a woman. You have needs. It's all right, woman. If a woman is anything like a man, you have needs. I don't fall for false prophets or readers. I really don't believe in any of it. Some of it makes sense, some of it, but it's just life. Everybody's experienced something. Everybody's lost love. Everybody's lost a loved one. Everybody. I don't get too far into it. I'm not gonna lie. Some of the stuff they say does match things that happen to me, but I've told my whole life story to the world, so it's obvious. It's like John Edwards, right? It's like the Ghost movie or whatever with Patrick Swayze or whatever. Oh, go get your tea or your dark chocolate, hot chocolate or whatever, Debbie. I'll be here when you're done. It's all lies, Debbie said. Well, it might be. I know I'm starting not to believe anything anybody says, unless I see it with my own eyes. Debbie says they use the same lines over and over again. Gosh, she is talking to me. No, 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 she don't know you. I don't know if they know me or not. Who knows? I can tell you this much. If I bet it down with you, then I'll definitely know you. Other than that, do we really know anybody except for the women that we bed with? Not really. And we don't even know them that good. You never know a woman, really, because they change every second. So, I don't know, man. I'm just, one of them torso dolls sound better each day. Yeah, I got my tea right here, too, Joe. Doing the tea thing and eating a little bit of ice cream. So, do I think some of these YouTubers are vampires or in the black arts and witchery and sorcery? I think so. I think so. Something's got a spell on Mr. Shell. He's running around in circles chasing his own tail, and every once in a while you got to let him out so he can run on the highway and chase cars. If that ain't a spell or demonic playing, I don't know. I have no idea. I see Miss Betty Boob has returned to his channel. Right? One minute they hate her, and then she flashes the boobs, and all the men go crazy. If that's not some kind of a boob spell, I don't know what is. Yesterday they talked about who's got better breasts, 777 or Miss Betty Boo. I don't know. I have no idea. And it's got to be demonic because it's torturing us men. These are married women and trying to make men lust after them. Well, it ain't working with me. I'm sorry. I cannot go there. If you weren't married, then I would be there watching you. But you're married, so I don't want to see your breasts, sisters. You can't put. Let me see what Debbie said. You can't put that mask on the torso, or you can put that mask on the torso. Yeah, I can tell you one thing. That torso's sounding better every day with some of the women I'm dealing with in this world. I need more tea. right, I got my tea going. Yeah, so the whole Delphi thing is just mind boggling. But I can tell you what, the case has come 360 and we're right back to the beginning of there was people there that day, there was other vehicles, uh, and there was a bunch of people in that area on the bridge, around that area, in over 8 years. Uh, we've seen that that was all a lie and it switched to this Odin thing. And you know what the funny thing is these people that were arrested or whatever, they might have had affiliations with these people that were in the Odins. Maybe. Maybe it wasn't. We just don't know. They spun such a web of deceit. And I'm just thinking we might change the name of that river to the River of Deceit because from day one it was deceit. From day one, they deceived many, and not only police. And that's my question: is how many of these YouTubers were they working with the police, and were so many of them working with defense? And how did this madness begin? And how did they get their hands on stolen evidence, and crime scene photos? Numerous questions I got. If that was me, and the police caught me stealing evidence, I would have been tased 50 times, probably beat half to death, locked up in the for obstruction of justice and numerous things. But they don't like me, so that probably would have happened to me. No doubt. Now these people, I don't know, but to each their own. Are they playing favorites? Maybe. Were there any connections with them? Well, maybe. Right? You had a couple of these YouTubers saying they had family that worked in the labs and police officers and stuff. Same people that said that claimed they were there, put themselves at the scene of the crime. It was just crazy. I still, I still haven't found that spider, Debbie. Now I'm starting really to believe if we do show all the evidence, they still won't believe us. And the simple reason they won't believe us is because it's a money making case now on social media. And you have to take into You have to take into consideration that some of these people that were so-called professional boundsmen or bounty men and police and yada 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 weren't. What they were convicted felons. And what do a lot of these guys have in common, probably, on this whole Delphi thing or YouTube or whatever, is prison. At one time, they were in prison. So you got to throw that in. Now we got to worry about these guys if we bust their balls and we're not buying the stories they're giving us. Are they going to put hit on us from inside the ball pen, right? You got to take that in consideration, and not including the witchery and voodoo and black magic that's a proven fact that they even do behind bars and outside of the bars. So there's a lot to deal with here, and we got a lot on our table. How far is it gone? Are we going to have to do what we didn't want to do? Well, and we might have to. For all we know, Trump ain't even running the country. No one is. It's some demonic demon, the puppet master. My question is, what's it going to take to knock the Delphi case off of the rankings? Right? You thought it would have been the Kohlberger case, which would come in 360 in that case. And the same people that said he was innocent, and there's no way it never happened. Now we're starting to find out it did happen. He is nuts. He was there. He did probably do the killings and maybe others, maybe more. It's like Richard Allen, right? If he did do this, then there's a very good possible chance that he did others. Can you guys still hear me? Debbie said put cotton balls in your ears for the spiders. Well, he's a big one. He walked past my eyes as I was doing a video. I had to get up and look for him. I was like, what was that? He was a green one. Now, maybe he was living in this lampshade that I just bought a couple days ago or whatever. Maybe the green light, his environment was green. Maybe he turned green. I don't know. But he had things, big things. I mean, there's so much scenarios. Even the family now, they're going harder at the family. And all these, it just came 360. What do I think? It was just a, it was the perfect storm. They created the perfect. No, I'm not going to lie to you. If they came to me and said, "What do you think? Is this does it got does it got potential in movie?" Well, sure. But just all the bull crap they created. Yeah, you got vampires. You got it all. You got it all in here in one big shot. You got terror. You got drugs. You got trafficking. You got uh, sexy models and all kinds of yeah secret societies, Odins and goblins and warlocks. Sure, if that's the way you want to think, yeah. Do not sleep with your mouth open. All right, Debbie. Debbie says they'll jump in your mouth. He had fangs. I seen him. I think being close to the green light, he's maybe become radioactive. I'm not sure. Yeah, Debbie, you might want to close your mouth at night because something might jump in your mouth while you sleep. Greenish tan color, like a clear color, Debbie, or like a cream color. He was like a cream color, but maybe it was the green light that was making him look green. But I think it was like a clear, like a cream. I don't know. He looked deadly. He could have been deadly. Well, I was just watching something on the news, and they said make sure you get ready, start getting ready for uh, insects inside your house, spiders and stuff like that. So I'm gonna have to spray or something here soon because I've seen a couple. Seen one today, and I think last week I seen one. don't know how much longer I can go on with this. It's probably deadly. Post it in my chat, Debbie. Yeah, it was like a cream color or a clear color of cream. It's probably one of the most deadliest spiders in the world. Ah, I'm so sick of smoking cigarettes. I'm so sick of all this. Debbie, I don't know if Celt your friend or I went ahead and untimed him from the timeout. But we'll probably never see them again in here. It was probably some kind of I caught the killer probably. Could have been. You don't know. Could have been. Alt account. No, I'm not saying that, but well, I guess I am saying that, but it's just a theory. Could be. Right? Could have been the killer all along. Stalking us, watching us. Now I had a bunch of people say I'm being gang stalked, which is very scary because it has something to do with gang, almost like there's something in there with gang stalk and gang rape, and that I don't go for that. It's scary. I'm pretty scared.
Strap in, folks. We got a lot to talk about with this one. So, this is a spider you may have already heard of. It's been in the news a couple of times for a couple of different reasons over the years. It appears on a few of the top 10 lists of most dangerous spiders. It makes an appearance in a lot of articles and lists around the internet. Meet Caracanthium mildii, the yellow sac spider. Here's what happens when people find one of these. They Google yellow spider. They find yellow sac spider. They go, yep, that's it. They learn that it was involved in a major vehicle recall. They find it on several lists of the world's most dangerous spiders. They discover articles and videos telling them that this spider's bite causes horrible necrosis, panic, start killing them and calling exterminators, and never sleep again. Now, is all of that really necessary? I did a lot of research on these spiders as I
Yes,
have them in my own house,
because
and I
I've
learned a
been
lot
bit
of
by
really
brown
fascinating
recluse
things about
before.
them. I learned that they aren't quite strict predators. I learned the truth about that vehicle recall. I learned whether essential oils really do repel them or not. I learned about the effects of the bite and the venom, and I'm going to go into all of that and more. But first, a big thank you goes out to Dr. Catherine Scott at McGill University in Montreal, Dr. Jeffrey Isbister at University of Newcastle, Australia, and Dr. Victoria Schmalhofer at IUPUI in Indiana for their help in some of the research for this video. Thank you. It really improves the quality of these videos and helps me deliver the most accurate information that I can. Because like I always say, less wronger is more better. So, how do you know you've got a yellow sac spider? Well, let's have a look at one. Now, I'd seen a bunch of these in my house over the summer, but of course, when it came time to do the video, I couldn't find one when I needed one. So I put what must have looked like a very bizarre post on our small town community Facebook group, and in true Nova Scotia fashion, somebody was crazy enough to respond and caught me this lovely male. So they're usually sort of yellow overall with these adorable little black toes. The coloration can vary a little bit. They can vary towards the greenish end of things, but generally they look sort of straw colored or yellow. The prosoma, sometimes called the cephalothorax, which is sort of the head where all of the legs attach, that's usually kind of a brown. It can be yellowish to brownish. It's usually a little bit darker than the rest of the spider. It can be a little bit almost black in the eye area. They've got 8 eyes in 2 rows, with the top row sort of curving above the bottom row. And they've got these long, usually black chelicerae, which is the moving mouth parts that the bitey parts attach to. And they'll usually have this darker strip down the center of the abdomen. That's called the heart mark. That's actually where the spider's heart is. We know this one's a male because of these pedipalps. They've got the enlarged end on them. And these spiders don't have a lot of really close lookalikes, so if you've got all these features, it's pretty certain you've got a yellow sac spider.
It's
I
one of the
believe
most
this one to be
diverse ones.
Caracanthium mildii. It could be Caracanthium inclusum. We have both
Probably
species here in
bitten
North
40
America.
times already.
Of course, the only way to tell them apart is, you guessed it, looking at the genitalia, which most of us can't do, myself included. But a general rule in North America is if you find it indoors, it's most likely mildii, and if you find it outdoors, it's most likely inclusum. Of course, that doesn't hold true 100% of the time, but it's a general rule. The literature makes me think that that might not hold true in Europe. And also over in Europe, you folks have Caracanthium punctorium, which is closely related but a little bit different and has much bigger bitey parts. But the 3 aren't significantly different from each other, so for our purposes here, we can sort of treat them all like the same spider. Let's talk about that vehicle recall for a minute, because that was fun. So this is in fact the exact spider that was involved in not 1 but 2 Mazda recalls, one in 2011 and the other in 2014. So it was found that these spiders were making their webs in the evap hoses of the emission control systems of the Mazda 6. Now later, Mazda claimed that the spiders apparently just liked the smell of gasoline, and thus the myth that the yellow sac spider loves the smell of gasoline was born and started getting repeated everywhere.
They told me that I would need to pay for mom's medicine, and that prescription.
Even the Wikipedia entry for the Caracanthium genus mentions this, although they do go on to mention that it was later found that the spiders didn't like the smell of gasoline. They just found the evap hoses to be optimal nesting places. And they quote a source for that, the same source that I had already come across, which was an abstract for a poster session presented in Indianapolis in 2016, detailing research led by Dr. Victoria Schmalhofer from IUPUI. Now, I thought this was kind of an odd explanation because there are lots of optimal nesting places in lots of vehicles. So why these specific hoses, and why specifically the Mazda 6? So I read the abstract, and what I got from it was that, while those hoses were optimal nesting places for a spider that size, there was something about the hose material itself that was actually attracting those spiders. So I wrote to Dr. Schmalhofer and I asked if I was reading the abstract right. She very kindly replied with a very long and detailed explanation, which was awesome and could honestly be its own video someday. It turns out the problem was not unique to Mazda. Other manufacturers were struggling with exactly the same issue. Ford actually committed an entire team of engineers to solving the problem. They came up with a screen. But the main discovery of Dr. Schmalhofer's research was that younger juvenile Caracanthium spiders were attracted to the hose material itself, even when it was cut up so it no longer resembled a tube. Older spiders didn't really seem to care, and they were actually repelled by gasoline. But the bottom line was, yes, the Wikipedia article misinterprets the experimental results. You are correct. Younger spiders are attracted to the hose material. So Wikipedia's explanation is somewhat misleading and misrepresents the very research it draws on. And this, kids, is why your teachers don't let you cite Wikipedia as a source. So let's move on to behavior. This spider is an active hunter, meaning that it doesn't build a web and use that to trap prey. It actually goes out and chases it down and hunts it. They're pretty quick, nimble little spiders. They're primarily nocturnal, so they build a little sack, like a little sleeping bag that they stay in during the day, and then they come out at night to hunt. Now, these little sacks are pretty inconspicuous, especially if you have light walls and a white ceiling like most people do. Here's one of the spiders actually in her sack, and you can see how this sack sort of blends right in with the ceiling and the wall, and you can see it's really quite translucent as well. And in a house, this tends to be exactly where they'll put this little sack, is right where the ceiling meets the wall. They'll go into that corner right there, and they're excellent climbers. They seem to be most comfortable when they're either on a vertical surface or inverted upside down. They don't seem to like to be right side up a whole lot. Not positive on that, but that seems to be the trend. I noticed this when I was photographing this spider. This spider did not like staying on this rock, and it seemed a lot more at ease when I gave it this vertical surface to climb on, and then it sort of calmed down. This guy seemed to really like the taste of his own feet, and I'm not really sure what he's doing with his spinnerets here. I wish I knew, but I don't. Also, like most spiders, these have 6 spinnerets, and for a long time I thought most spiders only had 2. But they in fact have 6, and they're all different types. So they come out of their sacks at night to hunt, and that's when you're going to see them crawling up your walls, crawling across the ceiling. That's the time of day they're going to do that. Now, the Wikipedia entry for these spiders mentions that they have a tapetum lucidum, which is a reflective layer behind the retina, which allows light coming into the eyes to pass through the retina, bounce off the tapetum, and back through the retina a second time. And they say that this would indicate that these spiders have pretty good vision. But none of Wikipedia's listed sources actually said that they had good vision. And all of the websites that I could find that claimed they had good vision either cited Wikipedia as a source or didn't cite a source at all.
Choose Allegra for fast, non-drowsy allergy relief. It's a no-brainer.
Introducing the all-new Passport Trail Sport, fully redesigned with available.
So I did some digging for some actual research on this. Turns out, Neurobiology of Arachnids is a book that exists. What a world we live in. There's a chapter in there called The Morphology and Optics of Spider Eyes, which could be the name of an indie record. This was a page turner, I'm not even joking. And what I learned was while yellow sac spiders do have a tapetum, they have a canoe-shaped tapetum, which is a particular type that is incapable of producing a sharp image. And the general size and construction of their eyes has little or nothing in common with the eyes of spiders that we know see well. That canoe-shaped tapetum might be used to detect the polarization of light in the sky, which some spiders use for navigation, but it doesn't give them sharp vision at all. So these spiders probably have quite poor vision and instead rely on vibrations through the surface they're standing on, as well as smelling and tasting the air to hunt. Wrong again, Wikipedia. Now look at what this spider does with his front legs as he's walking. You see how he waves them up and down in front of him like that? That's because those chemoreceptors that detect the smell and taste of the air are in the front legs, which is a place I'm glad human noses aren't. A study involving Caracanthium inclusum found that the way they'll hunt is to seize the prey with their front legs, which have tufts of hair on them that'll stick to things, as well as claws, grab the prey, pull it towards them, bite it, then let go with their front legs, and hold the prey in the air with their fangs so that it can't touch the ground. And when it can't touch the ground, it can't push itself away, so it prevents the prey from escaping or harming the spider, which is pretty clever when you think about it. And you can actually see those claws here in this photo right on the tips of the feet. And there he goes with those spinnerets again. Now, do they come back to the same sack every morning? I'm not sure. I actually wasn't able to find that information, although I did often find empty sacks, and I did see sacks that had spiders in them that the next day didn't. So I think these spiders might be more nomadic. When the sun starts coming up, they just make a sack wherever they are. Now, it's possible that those spiders that didn't return got eaten by other spiders or something, but I don't really know. If anyone has any data on this, shoot it my way. I'd love to see it. Now, they're excellent climbers, which is pretty well known, but in the course of photographing this spider, I came across something that wasn't mentioned in any of the literature. So I used this little setup to photograph spiders. The water keeps the spider contained to the rock and provides a nice little backdrop so that I can keep them in a small area while I'm trying to take photos of them. It also means I don't need a lid on the container, which is nice. This is partially my wife's idea. It generally works really well. So here I am shooting photos of this guy. You can walk on water? All right then, well, stay there. Now, I probably should have figured that a spider this size would be able to walk on water, but what surprised me was just how comfortable he seems to be on the water. Look at this guy, just chilling, cleaning his toes like he's thinking about what to do with the rest of his day, which apparently involved escaping from his Alcatraz-like little prison again. And he did it again. This guy did not give up. He seemed to calm down a bit, though, when I gave him this vertical surface to climb on, which is what's making me think that they're a little more comfortable when they're not on the ground. But again, that's my unscientific observation, so take that for what it's worth. These spiders are also not quite strict predators. These spiders can actually consume nectar, and having access to nectar, especially when they're young and prey is hard to come by, can dramatically increase their chances of survival. They usually consume nectar from what's called extrafloral nectaries, which are sites on a plant that secrete nectar besides the flower, because these spiders don't have the mouth parts to get to the nectar in a flower. So if you runs away again, so similar behavior so far, runs away to bite.
First ever Nissan Rogue Rock Creek.
You. But if you bother them enough, they can and they will, especially if they get squeezed. Now, getting squeezed against the skin, when it does happen, it almost always happens by accident. You roll over onto it while you're sleeping, or it finds its way into a shirt you left on the floor. They're not lying in wait for you, they just got lost. So I don't know that I would say that these spiders are necessarily all that aggressive, but you may be more likely to be bitten by one of these than by some other spiders just because they move around so much. They don't make a web and stay in one place. They come out and move around a lot more, so you're more likely to encounter them. And they are out every night crawling along the walls and crawling along the ceiling. So on that note, let's talk about the bite itself. So this is likely why you're here. Let's have a look at these fangs. Here they are as he's, sucking on his toes again. And they look pretty big compared to the rest of the spider, but keep in mind this whole spider's leg span is probably no bigger than a dime. So in reality, they're not actually all that big. But we're less concerned with the fangs than we are with the venom. Now, other people on YouTube have discussed this before, but I wanted to go into a little more detail with a little bit more context. If you search online, you'll find conflicting reports, some of which say that the spider's venom causes necrosis and the bites can be very severe, and other sources that cite a more recent study that says that these spiders don't cause necrosis at all. Now, this part Wikipedia actually gets right. There's a 2006 study led by Dr. Richard Vedder at the University of California, Riverside, and it provides quite convincing evidence that this spider's venom is relatively harmless and does not cause necrosis at all. But Travis, you say, I have medical papers, journal articles, university websites, and toxicology textbooks that all say this spider's venom causes necrosis. Why should I believe you and your one study? And that's a fair question. It helps to understand how this belief got started. I looked at a bunch of academic sources, and I followed the chain of citations back. What I found was virtually all of those sources traced back to one paper written by Andrew Spielman and Herbert Levi, and published in the American Journal of Tropical Medicine and Hygiene in 1970. The title of the paper was Probable Envenomation by Caracanthium mildii, a spider found in houses. Probable. Let's have a look at that paper. So from 1960 to 1965, 5 people from around Boston got necrotizing skin lesions that they attributed to spider bites. The yellow sac spider was the most abundant spider in Boston homes at the time, and 4 of the 5 bites did occur between August and November, when these spiders were most abundant. But look here, none of the patients actually saw a spider bite him. And remember, this was 5 patients over the course of 5 years in an environment where the spider was super duper common, and the hey, you're squishing me sort of bites would have probably been very common as well. Still, Spielman and Levi figured this was worth investigating, so they did some experiments. And this was back when people were a lot cooler with animal testing than we are now. So they captured 17 yellow sac spiders, shaved some fur off 19 unlucky guinea pigs, and got those spiders to bite them 42 times. The bites on the guinea pigs did produce necrotic lesions, but they were smaller and less severe than the ones seen in human patients. Now, the guinea pig results would be alarming if we assumed that humans would react to the bite the same way the guinea pigs do. But we know that that's not always the case. This is called differential toxicity. In fact, one of the researchers involved in the study got one of the spiders to bite him on the back of the finger. It got itchy for about an hour and a half, left a red mark about the size of a dime, and was gone the next day. So we don't even know that these 5 necrotizing lesions were caused by spider bites at all, let alone that they were yellow sac spiders. And like good scientists, Spielman and Levi acknowledged the limitations of their research. They called the paper probable envenomations, and the last line of the paper reads, "The evidence, however, remains circumstantial." So a paper that should have been seen as an invitation to investigate further was taken by some to be established fact, and this got repeated and recited and eventually found its way into medical and toxicology textbooks. The idea became so ingrained that when some medical staff saw necrosis in a patient, they would immediately diagnose it as a yellow sac spider bite because of the necrosis they were seeing, especially if they could find yellow sac spiders in the home or workplace of the patient. This, in turn, made its way into the medical records, so that after that, if somebody looked up yellow sac spider bites, they would find these reports of necrosis and think, oh wow, that's what that spider's bite does. But that necrosis was the only reason it was diagnosed as a yellow sac spider bite in the first place. So the data became kind of corrupted, and that data is still out there. It sort of became collective wisdom that necrotic lesions were caused by spider bites, and especially certain kinds of spiders. In Australia in 2004, one study led by Dr. Jeffrey Isbister investigated 9 patients with necrotic ulcers that were all reported to be spider bites, only to find that in every one of those cases, the necrosis actually was caused by something else entirely. Now, I don't think Spielman and Levi were really to blame here. They acknowledged the limitations of their study, and they no doubt hoped that somebody would take the cue to do a proper prospective study of the venom of this spider eventually. But it took another 36 years before somebody actually did. And in 2006, Richard Vedder, Jeffrey Isbister, Sean Bush, and Lisa Boutin took a look at 20 cases of verified Caracanthium bites, 10 in the United States and 10 in Australia, as well as looking at 39 more verified cases in the medical literature. What is a verified bite, you say? A verified bite is one where the person felt the bite, immediately saw the spider at the site of the bite, captured that spider, and sent it off to be positively identified by an expert. So that leaves no question as to what caused the results that were being seen. Of the 20 observed verified bites, all of them hurt, on average for a couple of hours, and in a couple of cases, a couple of days. Some cases featured swelling, redness, itchiness, a raised red area, and in 2 of the cases,
Well, thank you, Miss Debbie Fox, for showing me that that spider is probably one of the most deadliest spiders, and I'm already probably on my way to being eaten. Don't even know it yet. All right, that concludes our night, a boring night. What a boring night, boring life. Need some action. Man. But thank you very much for showing me that I have the crazy spider that could kill me with one bite. Running around in here. I'll find him. God bless you all. Thank you all for hanging out tonight. And talk to you later.